Read today that was compiled by preservationists and preservation organizations in the city. The proposed landmark ordinance introduced by Metro Councilman David Yates will be considered tomorrow, Tuesday, May 15th at 1:30 p.m. by Metro Council's Planning and Zoning Committee. We have come together today to collectively express our opposition to the ordinance for several reasons. Only certain voices will count on future landmark petition requests if this change is passed. This proposal limits the voices in our community to nearby neighbors and landowners when we all care about the special places in the metro community. We should be encouraging more public input, more public involvement in the nomination process, and not less. This ordinance creates new barriers to citizens' constitutional rights to participate in government planning processes affecting our community. Politics and special interests influence council members' decisions. That's just a reality. Permitting the council to have more power over landmarks designation creates barriers to preserving landmarks. Landmark designations enable our community to prevent the loss of historic structures to demolition. They buy us time while we create new ways to incentivize historic preservation. The more structures we preserve, the more opportunities we will have down the road to add rehabilitation to construction jobs all over this city. But the Metro Council proposal will have the final say on how landmarks are designated. They seek to micromanage a process that historically used preservation as a planning tool for our community. As it stands, the current landmarks ordinance has been an important process, resulting in 81 individual buildings receiving merited local landmarks designation over 4 decades. Nationally, many municipalities are finally looking to new models, modifying their decades-long reliance upon suburban planning tools in order to enable infill redevelopment and new ways to grow. Just as suburbia was built with now vanishing state and federal subsidies, water, power, roads, etc., new financing tools are available to tilt the playing field towards the difficult chore of building infill redevelopment. Landmark review processes help promote and preserve aspects of our shared heritage. We must expand tax incentives that will help level the playing field when it comes to reusing existing structures, rethinking, redesigning, restoring, reusing, retraining, and sustainability. Take these skills right to commercial and residential rehabilitation in our many fine existing neighborhoods where jobs, money, taxes stay right here in the community, and community needs are accommodated with housing, neighborhood stores, and safe transit. Economic indicators predict that home builders and contractors are not going to survive in the future by building more and more on open land. Our city population and economy are not growing. Our city should not become a couch potato with more and more suburban homes and malls that will soon be for rent or for sale. As citizens struggle with costly gas and travel, and other tolls, for example, expensive just to get to their jobs, just to be able to make a living, we need to abandon that old model. Renew, retrain, regroup, reinvent the new markets for real estate and economic growth within our metro area, right-size to Possibility City. We need to right-size this city. We're standing on an asphalt slab here that a year ago was a building that was viable. We need to stop thinking in terms of destroying what we have, putting in concrete slabs, putting in structures that reflect an old way of thinking and not the thinking of the future. Statement by one of our neighborhoods. We tried to get someone from various neighborhoods around the county to participate today because one of the claims has been it's only East End folks that are driving this. Here's the statement that I've been given to read. This week the state is considering adding an important place in Louisville to the National Register of Historic Places. That place is the Jefferson Jacob School in Harrods Creek, also known as the Rosenwald School. The school was built in 1918 through a partnership with Mr. Julius Rosenwald, the president of Sears and Roebuck at the time, and Booker T. Washington, and the African American community that lived at Harrods Creek at that time. These sites are similar to sites all over the West End that need to be preserved. Generations of blacks were educated through the late 1950s at this modest structure when segregation prevented them from attending nearby white schools. Today that school sits in disuse. It is vulnerable to demolition and should be landmarked. The ordinance change would give greater weight to signatures of people who live within 1 mile of that school. In doing so, the law would diminish the voice of thousands of African Americans generationally associated with this very important place of learning and in our history, and who may live 15 to 20 miles away in West Louisville or Newburgh. I urge the Metro Council to stop and look at these effects and stop any changes to a law that has served the community well for many years. Donovan Taylor, President of the Chickasaw Federation Neighborhood Association.